Hey guys, welcome back to PDOX Talks. Today we are in a new space.
Today we have a special guest. He's a filmmaker, an activist, a teacher, a person who challenges all our films, a person who makes us think a bit deeper, and a person who wants to make our films more radically interesting.
He is the tech guy, he's the camera guy, he's the civic guy, he's everything we want and need when we need something. And he has helped me with a lot of my film troubles. He has helped Kiran with a lot of film troubles. And here he is.
He is Alex Ryan.
Hi. Hi.
Was that a good intro?
That was very generous. Yeah.
Let's start with what movie you brought us today.
I brought you a film called Drive My Car, and I brought it because I saw it when it came out. I saw it at the Sydney Film Festival, and I really loved it. I found it very moving, and I just thought it was a brilliant piece of filmmaking. And I kind of suggested it because I've been meaning to watch it again. But I didn't watch it again because it's a long movie. It's a 3-hour movie from memory.
Yeah.
But also I've been at the film festival for the last 2 weeks, and I've been watching so many films, and I didn't have time to watch another one.
Yep.
So hopefully I remember things.
Okay. What is it? What do you particularly like in the film?
I think the main thing I really like is the writing. Like, I think the writing is really beautiful, and it deals with there's lots of things I like about it. I love the structure of it. Like, it gets, you start this film and I think it's like 40 minutes into it or something, and then it takes a whole new, it's like a second film, like the first part of it could be a film in its own, and then it takes this whole other, it goes to a whole other time period. And so I love that structure. I love how long it is. I love that it sort of grows on you, and you gradually become more connected with these characters, and they very, very gradually reveal parts of themselves. So the way that, the structure slowly brings you in and makes you understand these characters more and more throughout it until the end, when it's, you have a real good understanding of where they are. I like the themes. I like the way it explores things about themes of grief and guilt and human connection, and how to move on from those feelings of grief and guilt, or if you can move on from them. I just think it's a really beautiful exploration of that stuff, and complex. It's like the performances as well, I really love. They're very, very understated, almost to the point where you can't really see what people are feeling and in certain moments, but because of the length and the time that you're spending with them, and the beautiful conversations they have, eventually you can see those really small kind of micro expressions on people's faces. Like, one part that I remember is, I didn't get to watch it again. So I'm going off memory from what is it, 5 years ago now. But I just remember at the end when the driver, just for context, guys, I can't remember anyone's name, so I'll do my best, but I'm just going to call the driver, and maybe you can jog my memory. But at the end of the film, the driver is driving in the car, and she's got a dog, and the dog sort of pokes its head from the back to the front of the car and she gives it a pat, and this driver throughout the whole film has like so little expression on her face, right? But she just gives a little smile, and it's so tiny. It's a tiny smile, but it's so powerful. It's just, it means so much. And I just really love that, how, the performances are really great. That very, very understated to the point of like, if you just saw a snippet of this film, you'd be like, what is this? Like, come on, like, do some acting. But because you have so much time with them, you see those tiny little things happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many things I love about it. I love the way it's shot. It seems very smart. I don't know the story of the Chekhov play that they're doing, other than what's in the thing. So, but I'm sure what's in the film. But I'm sure if I was more literate in terms of theatre and I knew that play, I'm sure there'd be a lot of like deep intertextuality stuff going on that I'm unaware of. But it doesn't really matter. Like, I really love the production of the play. I think it's really clever idea of like producing a play that is multilingual, so everyone's speaking another language. So for some context, in the play, the film is about. Should we talk about what the film's about?
Film. I was like, okay. I forgot to ask that question. So Kieran, do you want to talk about what the film is?
Yeah. So the film is about a playwright, or is
no? He's an actor.
Director.
Yeah.
But he didn't write it though.
No. It's a Chekhov play.
Yeah, cool. So he's an actor-director directing this stage play. Things happen. He really enjoys his car. It's part of him, it feels like, in the film.
I feel like we got to spoil it. We can't explain it without spoiling the film.
Okay, so. Spoiler alert. His wife dies. And that's where the trajectory goes after that. The first 40 minutes is about his relationship there, and the next half is about where he goes and how he's dealing with a couple of the challenges that go along with that grief. Because it's not just a death, but it's also a lack of full circleness with what happened, being the wife cheating on him as well as her passing away. Is that a decent summary?
Yeah. It's also about how he deals with not confronting his wife. How he deals with not confronting his wife, even though he knows that it was happening all this while.
Yeah, and so his wife dies. He's predominantly a theatre actor at that stage, and then we skip to 2 years later, and he's been commissioned to direct a play that at the beginning he was acting in. So he's acting in, I don't know what the name of the play is. It's a Chekhov play.
Uncle
Denya. Venya. And so he's acting in that play, and then and one of the things that he used to do habitually was rehearse his lines while driving his car. So he lived far away from where he was performing. He'd on purpose. He'd drive his car, and he'd rehearse his lines, and his wife would read the lines of the other characters, and he'd have that on a tape. So he'd play back this tape of his wife reciting the lines, and then he'd rehearse his lines. So driving in the car was really important to him for that reason, probably a number of other reasons as well. Then 2 years later, his wife dies. He doesn't have the opportunity to confront her in her cheating on him, which he knows has been happening. Or he sort of, it's not that he doesn't have the opportunity, he was scared to confront her about it because he thought it would ruin everything. Yeah. They're also the mother, sorry, I know this might be, you're going to have to cut this, right? So the other thing that's happening in that beginning, we understand that they're both, him and his wife are dealing with grief because their child died. So they had a child that...
Do we know that in the first half, or do we only find that out in the second half?
I'm pretty sure we know in the first bit.
They go to the funeral.
Yeah, they go to
the funeral, the thing they do every year.
Yes, the anniversary of their death. They go to the grave or wherever, whatever it is. Yeah. So we do know that they had a child. The child died. This was a while ago, but they're still dealing with that grief.
Yeah.
And an interesting thing is, so his wife is a playwright, and
she was an actor too.
And she was an actor, but after the death, she became a playwright, screenwriter.
Yeah.
And a big part of so they've sort of grown apart, I guess, dealing with the grief, but they clearly love each other. And part of the way that they bond now is they have sex, and then she tells him a story, and then he tells her that story again the next day.
Yeah.
And then she devises her scripts out of this. I'm really going into a lot of detail here, but so she dies suddenly before he has a chance to say anything about
reconcile anything.
Reconcile anything. And then we skip to 2 years later. He's been commissioned to do a play in Hiroshima, and he gets there, and the people that run this theatre that have commissioned him to do it say, you're not allowed to drive your car. It's part of our policy. We have a driver for you. And that's a big deal because this is his time that he spends in the car by himself to think about the play and, think about other things. It's a big part of his life.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal that he's having someone else drive for him. So this driver comes in, and then the story is about this driver and him. They're both dealing with their own grief and their own guilt about people that have died in their lives, people that are close to them who have died. And slowly, very slowly, they sort of realize this connection and help each other deal with that connection, deal with that trauma, I guess. Oh, sorry.
That was good.
So that's the story, just so you got a bit of context. Okay.
It's a really interesting point because you said they're dealing with the grief, right? They kind of are, but I also feel like they were dealing with regret.
And guilt.
And guilt,
I think both of them. I mean, we're already spoiling. We're going to spoil things. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it's all right because it's a 3-hour film and you'll forget everything that we said here. They both have this guilt. So the driver, her mother died in a landslide, and when the landslide happened, she had the chance to save her mum. She was there, but she didn't do anything. She just watched it happen. And the mother died. The mother had some serious issues and was very abusive of her, and she hated her mum. But she also loved parts of her mum. So she's dealing with the guilt of basically killing her mum, and he's dealing with the guilt of basically killing his wife. Because what we didn't talk about was his wife, on the day that she died, rang him up and said, "Hey, I need to talk to you. When you get home, I need to talk to you." And he didn't go home. He deliberately didn't go home straight away. He deliberately went home at a time where he thought, I can get away with not having a chat to her, because he knew.
And he did.
He knew that what the chat.
He got away with it.
He knew what the chat was going to be.
Yeah.
And then he got home and she had collapsed on the floor with an aneurysm, never regained consciousness, and died.
Right.
So if he'd gone back, she might not have died. So he thinks that he's killed his wife as well. So they're both dealing with this guilt, regret,
Struggle.
Yeah.
It's not a light film.
But it's beautiful. I
It's
think
gorgeous.
it's and there's parts in the film that I just think are so genius. Like I just remember there's a scene. So they both smoke, both the driver and
Fuku.
what is it?
Protagonist.
The protagonist, Tufuku. They both smoke, but they don't smoke in the car. And I can't remember exactly what. Yes.
Yeah.
So there's this moment. There's this moment where I can't remember exactly what happened before this moment, but there was a moment of connection between the two people. They learn something about each other, and it's not a happy learning. It's a learning of something that's happened that's really sad between them. Maybe she learns that his daughter.
You go.
I think it was a scene. Anyway,
Was it the scene where the actor tells him that he was basically
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's a whole other part of this story where in this play he casts an actor that worked with his wife and also had sex with his wife. And he knows that and he casts this guy in the and then anyway,
He
he's
doesn't
in the car.
confront as well.
Sorry?
He doesn't confront him as well.
He doesn't confront him either. But they're in the car and one of these stories that she was telling him before she died, she never got to the end of it. And then the actor tells him that story, tells him how the story ended. And it's just a very moving scene. And it's sad. It's really sad as well. And there's a lot of things happen in that scene, right? It's quite emotionally rich. And then they drop off the actor, and then he gets into the front seat, and he's never got into the front seat before. He's always sat in the back seat, and then he gets in the front seat. So that's
Already or something.
so significant. Like I know these sound like tiny little
Tiny
things,
details, yeah.
but in this in this film, it's like those tiny little things have so much power. And then he gives the driver a cigarette, and then they light the cigarettes and they pop open the sunroof and they hold the cigarettes
Together.
And it's so beautiful. Like I cried in that moment. And that is amazing. Like if you can like emotionally like hold such emotion with such a simple shot, it's I just think it's genius. Like I wish I could do something like that, you know?
I'm sure you could.
There's I don't know about that, but there's lots of moments like that throughout the film where there's these tiny little things that happen. Like there's that other scene where they go to the translator's house for dinner, and it's the driver and the main character, and they're there, and it's a really beautiful scene. The driver and his wife have a really beautiful relationship. I mean, the translator and his wife have a really beautiful relationship.
She's also an actress in the
She's also an actress in the play.
And she only speaks with Korean Sign Language.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they have this beautiful, we see this beautiful little relationship. And then the translator says, oh, hey, what do you think about the driver? And, you know, up until this point, you don't know at all what he thinks about this person. Like the only thing you know about how he feels about this person is that this is someone driving my car and I want to do it myself. Like I don't need this person.
Yeah.
But then he says she is such an amazing driver. And when she's driving, it doesn't feel like we're driving. She accelerates so smoothly. She decelerates so smoothly. We're going over rough roads and I can't feel it. And again, it's such a little thing to say, but it means so much.
Yeah.
And it means a lot to her later, and we find out why it means a lot
She
to her.
immediately stands up and she goes to
gets
pat the
away.
dog. Yeah, gets away because she
She goes
doesn't
and
know how
pats
to
the
process with it.
Yeah, she goes and pats the dog because it's all too much. But,
It's like the first compliment she's ever received in her life.
yeah. Anyway, what do you guys think about it? What did you?
I think one of my favorite scenes was that one as well, but it was like one of the key parts of the film is like golden silence is one of the lines she says, and I feel like that's a very strong motif that just goes through the film. There's so many scenes of just driving and being in the car, and that hit home for me a lot. Like growing up, I was driving a lot with my uncle. We would just drive, like we'd get up in the morning, go to cricket training, but we'd be driving in the car for an hour, 45 minutes, and we haven't said anything to each other. And it was just like, it was so early, we didn't even talk to each other. So it was just interesting, those sort of little things. And like one of the other scenes that really got me was the one where the deaf actress and the main actress in the play, they had this scene outside together, and he brings along the driver to watch that part. And I thought that was like, yeah.
Well, it's more than him bringing the driver, because he's already invited her to watch. It's that she came.
Yeah.
You know
She
what
was
I mean?
out there already. He brought the stage to her almost.
Oh, was she?
She was sitting there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that,
Yeah.
or I don't remember that.
Yeah.
It's not either.
Yeah.
So he made her watch it.
Because she was just sitting outside, and he just said, "All right, we're going outside today," and brought all of them in front of her.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, that's not as powerful as what I thought happened in that scene, which is that she came. She came to watch.
Well, she stayed too.
She stayed.
I was
She didn't
surprised
walk
she
away.
came in the end where she was sitting. I mean, it was bound to happen, but
At
at the end,
the play.
yeah. The play, she was
And
there.
she
I was
seemed like
oh,
she
okay.
was moved by it.
Yeah.
What I like in that scene, I think that's a great scene as well. But just on a like interesting. So just for context, this guy, the main character, is directing this play. It's a very interesting way of doing a play where all the characters speak different languages. And he's got a really interesting approach to directing plays. So he spends a lot of time with
Reading the lines. Yeah.
and just understanding the text.
Yeah.
And so they have to read for days on end. The actors just have to read the
Just
script
keep reading,
really
keep complaining
slowly.
about it.
Yeah, really slowly, not thinking about it, not thinking about the emotions, just reading the lines or thinking about it, but not thinking about the emotional meaning of the lines, just reading the lines, just knowing the words and understanding those words. So all the way through, there's these really interesting ideas about direction, I think. And in that scene, I really love how, so these two characters, this is one of the first times they've actually got up and acted out the scene, and they do a really lovely performance and it feels there's something there. And then at the end, he says something like, oh, yeah, something happened then, right? Something happened. Now what we need to do is, something happened, but it was just between two actors. And now what we have to do is translate that to an audience. And I just think that's really cool. Like it's a really cool, I'm going to remember that.
Yeah.
If I ever make a film again, I'm going to remember that as just a really interesting way to think about performance and film and actors and making that, having that moment and then seeing that something is happening between actors, but it's not for us yet, and then trying to work out how to translate what happened there to an audience.
Yeah. How do you generally go about with performances?
How do I generally go about it? I mean, I think a big part of getting good performances is casting. So just finding good actors, or finding, they don't necessarily have to be actors, but people that are emotionally open and can listen and react, and then letting them do what they do. That's,
they say there's truth in acting, your true selves.
Yeah.
Only you only attain your true selves when you're acting, something like that, something on those lines. Do you agree with that?
I mean, I think there are some people that are, I don't think that's quite true about the only bit.
Yeah.
But I do think it's true that to be a good actor, you have to be true. You have to be your true self. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Like, otherwise, it's not going to be memorable. It's not going to be a good performance. Like, you have to tap into
Something real.
real that's happening inside. Yeah, for sure.
What did you think about, or even why did you think they went around that table for so long? Around in the
reading
the, is it because of all the different languages and trying to understand each person's perspective, even not knowing the language?
Yeah, I think probably, like, in terms of just the basics of, like, okay, we're all speaking different languages. We can't understand each other's language. We really have to listen to those words in another language and understand what it is they're saying in order to do the performance.
Because you have to create a feeling. Like, because if someone says something in your language, you can kind of understand where that feeling came from. But from a different perspective, you're going, okay, these words, we don't know what they mean, but I know I need to feel this almost.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Strange,
so I guess it's like hearing those words, but also reading the script so you understand what is being said and making that connection to the words and the meaning behind the words. It'd be really hard, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
He hasn't set an easy task.
No.
But it's such an interesting idea. I like it. And I'm sure, like, I'm not smart enough to analyze it, but I'm sure it's got, there's some connection there between different languages and what's going on for him as well. Do you guys have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I felt like I read something similar to it. I was reading up on it and I felt like I couldn't understand it.
What was your question?
Honestly, I couldn't understand
Sorry?
it.
What was your question again?
Well,
The multilingualism and how the monotonous line delivery has something to do with the context of the film itself.
Yeah, I'm probably not qualified. The interesting little thing that I thought was kind of funny, some of the two actors in the film, like, they said, when I hear the other languages, I get bored and stop. And I was just like, oh, it's so interesting. Like, when I first started watching films from other cultures, I did the same thing. I didn't get what was happening. So yeah, it was just actresses doing the same thing that are older and more experienced, having the same feeling around those sort of things when you're young. And
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's just interesting. Yeah.